Welcome back to the mini series Mind, Body, and Soul. When episode and we are excited because we have the beautiful Paloma with us. All right, and she's gonna talk to us about the inner child in us. Right, and I don't know how many of you are familiar with the idea of the inner child in us. I think it's quite interesting to just talk about that inner child, right? I don't know. What do you think, Yi?
Mm,
What's your thought
something
on this whole idea of doing this inner child healing?
I think actually is something very interesting. I think most of the time I feel that we kind of suppress ourselves and forget about our inner child because I don't know we usually have a phase where we feel that it's time for me to grow up. So when it's time for me to grow up, you kind of forgotten and neglected the child part of yourself, which you think that now I'm in adulthood, so I shouldn't be concerned about it anymore, kind of thing. So I think this is very interesting because it is really going in depth back into embracing back to the child in us. I think that would be something that I want to really learn about it. Yeah.
Yes. How about I start with explaining what it is, my definition of it at least. How does that sound?
Yes.
So the first time
But
I
Paloma,
heard this phrase,
before we go into that,
yes,
maybe we can have a bit of an idea of who is this person Paloma, right? We see many,
okay,
this person. I mean, when I met Paloma, we were talking about this fiery spirit, in discussion. We were discussing about, gender. So who is Paloma actually, and how did you even end up looking at something like the inner child healing, right?
yeah. So how did I end up doing this work, helping people connect to their inner child? It's because I've been through a healing journey myself, and I'm still going through it. And we lift as we rise. So as I'm rising, I want to take everybody who's hurting with me because that's what I think the world needs, more healing. Because when people are healed, we are kind to each other, and when we are kind to each other, everybody benefits. So what is the story behind starting a healing journey? I came to Malaysia when I was 19 years old, and I was really very wounded. I just didn't know what to call it. I just felt terrible. I couldn't connect to others, couldn't make friends. I was insecure, could barely talk to anybody. So I had to do a lot of introspection and ask myself, why? And through this work of looking within, the overarching question is, what's wrong with me, right? I'm sure we ask ourselves that every day. What is wrong with me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the questions that kept coming up in my mind is, why do I attract such toxic people? Because when I think back in my life, in kindergarten, in primary school, secondary school, college, there was always a bully in my life. Even as a working adult, there was still toxic people around me. So it was like the common denominator between all these people is me. So what is it about me
Mm,
that attracts
mm,
them, right? Instead of playing the
mm,
victim, oh my God, everybody's so mean to me. No, let's look at
That
what am I doing.
that must have
uh,
been quite scary, right, Paloma? It's like when you said
yeah,
that you realized that you are the person who is attracting all these toxic relationships.
mm,
yeah.
mm,
So the question
mm.
was, what is it about me? And that's where it led me to connect to my inner child. And that inner child showed me what are the things I needed to heal so that I can have better relationships, better friends. so that I could attract and maintain friendships that uplift me instead of bring me down, right? I knew I had a lot to give to others, but I was giving to the wrong people. And I wasn't giving to myself at all. That was a big light bulb moment, that all the things I do for others, why don't I do it for myself? It's my inner child who led me to that realization. Yeah, so what is the inner child? Because when I first arrived to this description, I didn't get it. I was like, I'm a grown woman. I'm not childish. Does that mean I need to be silly and childish? And no, actually, no. The simplest explanation I found is the inner child is a part of our mind. It is where we store the emotional experiences that we have in childhood. Those experiences can be our sense of wonder, creativity, playfulness, but it can also be heavy emotions. This is where in childhood we start accumulating heavy emotions like shame, anger, guilt. Shame being the lowest vibration of all human emotions. And as we know, mind and body are connected. And when we store heavy emotions, it has an impact on the physical health. So when I came to Malaysia, I was always sick. Always in and out of the clinic with mystery illnesses until I started healing myself slowly alongside the help from medicine. And it shouldn't be either or. Both has a place in our lives. Because a lot of people will shame you for taking medicines or seeing this specialist or that specialist, and everybody has an opinion as to what kind of treatment you need to take. Let me tell you, go with what your gut tells you. Okay, your gut is also guided by your inner child.
I have a question, Paloma. I'm just curious because I hear that you're talking about when you are a child, your childhood, and how you are going through in your past, in your childhood, that lead to where you are right now with this whole concept. It reflects back to my childhood, and I feel that at my phase when I was a child, I'm more towards being clueless about who am I. The questioning about myself, basically. So I guess that leads me to have very much difficulty in terms of understanding how am I supposed to be who I am if I don't know myself? That kind of questions that's been in my mind for a very long time. Is there any way do you see it as as a way to get into your inner child from that side, to embrace it? Is there a way for it?
Yeah, the more you heal your inner child, the more you become complete as a human. And like you said, once you know yourself, then you can show others who you are and show them how to treat you.
Correct.
And one of the ways we do that is to establish healthy boundaries. When we are children, when we're very young, that's when we learn how to set those boundaries. And unfortunately, we don't always have good teachers. This is not an attack on our parents or teachers or grown-ups in our life, because they also don't know. Right? They also didn't learn all this stuff.
Yes, it's true. It's
So
true.
let me tell you one of the few things that I learned to find out whether or not you need to set healthy boundaries. Okay, just very briefly, let me remember. So first of all, you feel burnt out in your adult life because you're very focused on pleasing others, people pleasing.
Oh, yes.
You go out of your way to give, and you have very little place in your life for receiving. You're very comfortable giving your time, giving your energy, volunteering.
Mm-hmm.
and giving away your talent,
Yeah.
but you have trouble receiving the same kind of treatment. That means
Mm.
when somebody shows you kindness, you get freaked out. You're like,
Mm.
why is that person being so nice to me? I don't deserve it.
Yes, yes,
And then you
yes,
push away those friendships.
yes,
So that's
yes,
one sign.
yes.
And your inner child will actually show you where was the origin of that.
Mm.
Where did it originate? What
Mm.
is the wound that needs to be healed around that boundary?
Mm.
Another thing is you don't make time for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You don't take your self-care seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you have to be extremely very sick, about to Feng San. Then you go to the doctor. That was me.
Okay.
Another
That
thing.
wasn't me
Paloma,
for
how
sure.
do we?
Go ahead, Cheryl.
Yes.
How do we find this inner child? Right? I know it's ridiculous, right? But is there a GPS or something? How do we find the inner child in us, and how do we know we've located it? Right? How do we know
So,
that's the inner
yeah,
child?
there are many, many ways out there. One of these ways is meditation. But for me, I have trouble with meditation. I'm an overthinker and I have chronic pain, so I cannot just sit in silence with my thoughts.
Mm.
I cannot tahan. I'm like, So my method is through art, through creating, and through writing a journal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've been showing other people how to do because it's worked for me. And
Mm.
journaling is very accessible because all you need is a pen and your notebook,
Mm, mm, mm,
right?
mm, mm,
Everybody has access to that.
mm, mm,
And there are some exercises that I've successfully done. For
mhm,
example, doodling before I start writing,
mm, mm,
breathing exercises before I start writing.
mhm,
Why doodling? Because as a child, I had selective mutism. That
mhm,
means I did not speak in certain situations because I
mhm,
was just too overwhelmed and too unhappy.
mm,
So I turned to writing things down and
mhm,
expressing myself through drawing.
mm, mm,
Drawing is was such a huge part of my life. I was that kid with a notebook everywhere I went, just
mhm,
drawing
mhm,
away because that was a coping mechanism, and it's a healthy
mm,
coping mechanism. Because
mm,
some
mm.
people turn to unhealthy ones, like
Yes. Some will
drinking,
be drinking.
self-medicating, and
Correct.
putting themselves
Yeah.
in danger. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. That's true. But I feel that when I was a child, I will feel that um,
So
very much not embraced to um, writing or art per se. But I feel that at a period of time, I think maybe more closer to my teens time, drawing was actually one of the things that I feel I enjoyed out of the zone more. So it's never like there's a certain age that you have to be young to do this, or or is there a certain age for it? There's no limitation, right?
What I tell people is just give it a try, and if it doesn't resonate, do
Mm-hmm.
something else. For some people,
Mm-hmm.
it's physical exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, when they run, that's when they process feelings.
Yeah.
They go and run and they dump all the heavy feelings there and they go home feeling lighter. If that works for
Mm.
you, absolutely. For some
Mm.
people, they need a therapist to assist them, and that's
Mm-hmm.
also totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
For others, it's screaming into a pillow if you have anger issues. I've done that once and I was like, it was fine, but I'd rather write down my anger than
Yeah,
express it
yeah,
in a pillow.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And for me, I spend time with animals. I love animals so much, and their energy is just so healing.
Mm,
So we live in Malaysia, and we have the opportunity and privilege to have access to many things to do,
mm-hmm.
even virtually. I
True.
know
yeah,
that now we can't really go out and be in crowds. So some people like to go to concerts and art exhibitions and all that. But even virtually, sitting in this kind of room with
Yeah.
like-minded people who validate your experience, that is already healing.
True.
So
True.
there's always something that will work for you. Just need
Yeah.
to keep at it and try to find it. And when you tap into your inner child, it ignites your curiosity. So you're curious to try this and that. So stay
Mm.
curious.
Mm.
Yeah.
Definitely curious is definitely one of the elements that I have
So
for
like
very long.
connecting to what works, it's connecting to what works for you, right, Paloma? It's connecting to what works for you. So you said it could be drawing, it could be, I mean, for some people it could be dance, it could be music, so it
Yeah,
could be
dance is a big
any.
one.
What is that button, right?
I didn't hear the end of your sentence, but yes, for your inner child will also show you what are the things that we want to do. For me, it was photography. My inner child is such a huge animal lover and so much in awe of nature that every time we see a wild animal and we witness that, it makes both of us happy. Horse riding, for example, also building things from scratch. I took woodworking classes because that's what my inner child said would make her happy. And I'm very proud of the furniture that I built. And every day I look at it, it makes me smile. Yeah. Hello. Anything else you'd like me to discuss?
Cheryl?
Can you guys? I think we're having a little bit of a connection issue. It's lagging a little.
Okay. No worries.
So
No worries.
sorry. Just okay. So let's go back to looking at the childhood, right? So if we flash back to the childhood, earlier you were mentioning about how there's many different things that you experience in your childhood, right? So you also mentioned the vibrations of what can happen. So you have like the lower vibrations, which is shame and neglect and things like that. So we have things
Mm-hmm.
that we remember, like if I think about my childhood, right, it's like that ice cream in Malaysia, which you eat it from like a plastic. You buy it from the corner of the street, 20 cents. I think it's called pop ice cream or something like that. So that brings out like that inner child happiness in me, right? But
Yeah.
what if this inner child memories or flashbacks from childhood is not so happy, right? It's
Yeah.
maybe negative, maybe it is
Mm.
upsetting. So how do we
Mm.
tackle that inner child in us? Because it must be difficult, right? To acknowledge
To go
that
back.
firstly,
Yeah.
because
It's
we
never
want
easy. Yeah.
to go back
Screen portal.
positive, right? We want it to why look at it if it's not positive, right? So how do we kind of console ourselves with that, and how do we like locate that in terms of the childhood aspect of it?
Mm.
When you want to connect to your inner child and that child is showing you uh, difficult things,
Yeah.
traumatic memory,
Yes.
it means that now you can handle it and this is the time to heal it.
Mm.
However, it's totally normal to have fear of looking at that memory because it's like we're living it a second time. The feelings are the same. Even if we're now
Mm.
an adult,
Mm.
we feel it as if it just happened.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
in that situation, you just have to remind myself, I am safe.
Mm-hmm.
I am an adult now, and I can handle it.
Mm. Mm.
And that's why it's important to have people who create a safe space for you. And that's why
Mm.
we call it holding space. We're
Mm.
not meant to go through life alone. We are social animals. So
Yes.
find those spaces. That's why I try as much as possible in my circles to establish that this is a judgment-free, safe
Mm-hmm.
space for you to express.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and with regards to painful memories, those
Mm-mm.
people who have PTSD,
Mm-mm.
post-traumatic stress
Stress
disorder,
disorder.
when you remember something
Yes.
traumatic, it also triggers physical symptoms, not just the
Anxiety.
memory of the emotions. It can
Correct.
trigger anxiety or panic attacks.
Yes.
So how do you mitigate that? You find a combination that works for you, whether it's talking to a therapist in a space
Mm-hmm.
where you know somebody will take care of you if something happens,
Mm-hmm.
or join a group
Mm-hmm.
that's judgment free and is trauma informed. Means they are aware that you could uh, spiral and
Mm-hmm.
it could trigger a reaction in you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Paloma, I want to ask the question. I feel that um, is it really is it important that the person's mental mindset has to be strong before they can actually go into this process of embracing your inner child?
I don't really know what is a strong mindset
Mm-hmm.
because when I started, I don't think I was ready, but but I
Yeah.
knew that if I don't, I'm not going to live to my full potential. I'm going to waste my youth being
Mm-hmm.
miserable.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
think
Yeah.
it's not about your strength of mindset, it's your readiness and your willingness to heal. That's more
Mm-hmm.
important. Yeah.
Mm, mm, mm. So, but what about if, like you say, if you are building that, that
So you must want.
space?
Say again.
Sorry, what is it, Cheryl?
No, go ahead. Selson, go ahead.
Okay. So I was thinking that if you're saying that we're building a space, like a safe space for us to be in a group of circle of people that we trust in it, right?
Mm.
Um, because I always feel that I mean, I'm not looking from, I'm looking from people that I have been with, and I always see there's always a trend, a pattern. Like, I always give this reason to say that, birds of the same feather tends to flock together. So, the people that I tend to mix with tend to be always have the same kind of
Yeah.
understanding or my concept of, characteristics, always something similar with us. That's why we are together for so long, right? But I feel that, if, for example, back to the case of if the person is a person who has, difficulty, or embracing themselves, or have difficulty finding themselves, they always tend to find people who are as uh I mean as hurtful as they are themselves. So how is it for them to actually build a safe space for themselves, to find the right people to build with them?
So this concept of you attract who you are
Yes.
is absolutely true
Yeah.
because I realized that before I was attracting wounded people also.
Yeah.
But it only takes one of you to decide,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take my healing in my own hands
Mm.
and I'm going to take it seriously because I'm not going to waste all my youth being miserable, like I said earlier. So
Yeah.
when you make that decision for yourself, you inspire
Mm.
others to rise with you.
Mm.
And if
Mm.
they are not willing and ready,
Mm-hmm.
the way you become ready is to make the decision.
Yes.
You become ready through willingness,
Yeah.
then they just drop off.
Yeah.
I've There are so many people that didn't come with me on the journey, and that's
Mm-hmm.
totally fine. They
Fine.
have their
Yeah.
own path to follow and don't feel
Yeah.
guilty or like a mean person for distancing yourself because not everybody is meant to be in your life forever.
True.
If
True.
you have
I agree.
abandonment issues, which also happen in childhood, like the origin of it happened in childhood, it's very difficult for you to let go of people even though they are toxic or do
Yeah.
not serve you. Sometimes they're not
Yeah.
toxic, they just don't uh, lift you up, right?
True.
But
True.
know that it's okay, and there will always be other people
Mm.
who will meet you at your level of vibration and higher.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. It's
And
always
that
to
is
make that
scary because you
decision.
don't know if you're going to meet them. But so far, I've been very privileged to meet wonderful people who have pulled me up. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, it's really to take that step to make that decision that it's time for me to make a change, or it's time for me
Yeah.
to move, develop myself better from it and move from there. Yeah, I can kind of relate to that because I have also, feel that there's a period of time that, eventually people change, and our mindset
Yeah.
tends to change as well. So eventually there are also friends that you tend to fall off, and then,
Yeah.
new friends that you're putting in. So for those who think that, it's okay to leave some of your friends behind, I feel that sometimes people feel guilty about it, like, hey,
Yeah.
I don't want to be with you anymore, but I don't want to tell you that I don't want to be with you anymore. They feel guilty about, like, why are we not, together for, as friends now, keeping in touch together, sometimes they feel guilty about it. But I guess it's a kind of decision to embrace that it's time for move on, that it's time to move on, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the more you heal your inner child, the more you realize that you cannot fix anyone else. You can only fix your emotions, and you have to put yourself first.
True.
It's
True.
not selfish, it's self-care.
True. Just want to ask back, for example, like, what about there's some people who say that, or who has that kind of belief that, hey, I'm already at this age, but it feels like their mentality, or I wouldn't say it's their mentality, but they feel like their immaturity in terms of comprehending uncertain things. Is there such kind of situation, like they may be reaching certain age, but the maturity of them to see things in a certain level is not there yet?
Yeah.
Is it that they are not living out from their inner child, or what? What is? How do you see that?
When you said that, I had a flashback to a grown person throwing a
Yes.
tantrum over something tiny.
Yes. Because I have also
And
met
when I
many
looked at that
people like this.
person,
Yeah.
yeah, and I looked at that person and said, that is a wounded inner child.
Ah.
When something
Yeah.
small triggers something deep within them that they might not even be aware.
Mm. Yes.
So, how to help them? I don't know, because they need to be willing to help themselves.
Yes. Yes.
uh, it takes a lot of
So they need to
self-awareness.
leave, Paloma, they
They
need to
need to
leave the
what?
door open first. They need to take the first step.
Mm.
I said they need
Yeah,
to take the first step,
Mm.
and then only
yeah,
you can help them. Like you said earlier about who is surrounding you, why you can't take everyone with you is because not everyone is on that journey.
yeah,
They want to be
Yeah.
on that journey, and for healing
Correct.
to happen, that's one of the most crucial
yeah.
things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, it's heartbreaking when I see somebody who visibly has a wounded inner child, because once you realize it in yourself, you see it everywhere.
And the funniest thing is, I noticed that these people who always feel that, the problem doesn't lies in themselves. The problem lies
Yes,
in everyone else. And that is
yes.
the kind of thing that I
Someone else.
find correct. I find it shocking. Like, oh my gosh, it's like, have you actually looked at yourself to see what you have said or what you have done or what you think before you actually,
Yeah,
point your fingers at people and blaming it on others? Yeah. Oh, okay.
yeah.
Nessa has a
Finger
question.
pointing is so common
Yes.
because it's scary to think that we are the villain.
Yeah.
Toxic people do not think of themselves as toxic, they think of themselves as victims.
Exactly. Exactly.
And if you have a savior complex, which
Yeah.
also comes from wounded inner child, you want to embrace them, make them see the light, process their feelings for them. Come, come, I can save you. You need me
Paloma,
as we like
Paloma,
being needed.
sh- should I go and expose a little secret to you? I know a very
Uh,
close person, very very close person, who has this savior complex issue. She really, she really wants to help everyone, basically.
yeah, There's no shame in that. Trust me, I'm the same. I have to say that I wasn't always
He's
self-aware
talking
to the
about you,
point.
right? Talking about you, right?
Yeah, I wasn't always self-aware enough to realize that I'm not Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
That I can help, but not to the point that it's hurting me.
Good one.
Correct.
You do what you
Correct.
can, but don't
Yeah.
overextend yourself. You know that in our culture, there's such a thing as going the extra
Yeah.
mile,
Yes.
which you
Yes.
can to a certain extent. You
Extent.
can only go the extra mile if your cup is full. I know it's so cliche. I used to hate that term so much, but it's very true. If
Yes.
you don't pour into yourself first,
Yeah.
how are you going to rescue anybody?
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. That's true.
So
Okay,
you
we have a question
rescue
here.
your inner
That's
child
a very
first.
good point.
We have a
If you're
question
going to
here
rescue
from.
anybody, make it your inner child.
Mm, mm. All right, we have a question from Nesha here. Say, is it okay for me to block someone who I think they are just using me, but they are still nice to me, but I can feel the toxicity?
Ah, who
I
is
think
it?
Nesha.
Nesha.
Mm,
Nesha, I will say
Interesting.
trust your intuition. If your intuition says they are using you, they are most likely using you.
yeah.
Um, and toxic people are usually very charming.
Mm, yes.
they,
I think
they,
we're seeing very persuasive, I would say.
yeah, because manipulation is something they've
Yeah,
mastered,
yeah.
right?
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
gaslighting is also something they've mastered.
Mm, mm,
And if you are able to cut them out of your life, and
mm,
if you feel that that's what your inner child is telling you to do to protect your energy,
mm,
absolutely. And
mm,
don't feel guilty about it.
mm, mm. Is this inner child thing very similar to gut feeling?
For
What's
me,
your
yes,
take on it?
absolutely.
Mm,
The gut
mm,
feeling is literally, it can be literally in your gut because of mind body connection. For me,
mhm,
when somebody is actively putting me down,
mhm,
actively trying to shame me, trying to make me
mhm,
feel bad,
mm.
my gut, my solar plexus chakra, as we say in the spiritual circles,
Yeah.
will give me a burst of energy to warn me.
Mm. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I
And
always
when
feel
you're
that.
very in touch with how that feels, then you know.
Mm,
Even if
I
the
always.
person is being so charming and polite and seemingly respectful,
Mm,
but your gut knows. The body knows, the inner child knows.
I always feel that um, it's. I always feel this is more like a for me lah. I always feel like there's a vision of like an alarm bell ringing in my head. If I
Mm-hmm.
encounter somebody that I feel that something is wrong here or something doesn't seem to be right
Yeah,
about this
yeah.
person, there's always
Yeah.
this ding 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 in my mind. I say, okay, I think best to stay away from this person. So I guess
Yeah.
it's similar to that, right?
Yeah. So you need to realize, is this your inner child trying to put boundaries that are way too high?
Mm,
Or is it really coming from a place of self-preservation? Because
mm,
both is trying to protect you.
correct.
Some people, their boundaries are too high.
Mm,
There is such a thing as no boundaries and too many. So
okay. How do we tell
So
the
too much is
but
difference?
if
not
the
good
light
as
bulb is
well,
going off,
right?
Yeah.
listen to it.
Mm. How do we tell the difference between too many boundaries and no boundaries? How do we tell the difference?
If the boundaries bring you joy,
Mm-hmm.
that's all you need to know. If your boundaries are too high and is keeping people out, for example,
Mm-hmm.
you want love, but when somebody shows you love, you push them away.
Oh.
You can only figure out if you're doing that if you become self-aware.
Ah.
Yeah.
Cheryl,
If
this
it's if
sounds
it's
Ah,
very
making you
that's very
isolated
interesting.
and if it's bringing you suffering,
yeah.
I think between us, Xiao San, I think I have too little boundaries when it comes to doing that, and you have too much.
Oh, so you
That's
are
why we
both like
balance each
the
other
opposite
so well.
ends.
No, because I think that I think it's a sign is really like what
You'll
Cheryl
be
is
like,
saying
"What
because
are you trying to save
yeah,
everybody?" And I'm like,
yes, yes. I'm like, okay, I think we need to have some space. I think we need to stay away from, being too close to these people. And Cheryl is like, oh, I need to save everyone, I need to help everyone. I was like, okay. Yeah, I guess that's why we kind of fit with each other, Cheryl.
pity them, they're wounded, they're going through
And I will always,
something, and she'll be like, I
yeah,
don't know why we're wasting our time. It's just a waste of time.
Yeah, so between the two of you, you'll learn where
yes,
is the balance. I think
yes,
that's why you are in each other's
The
lives. You need to
boundaries.
learn
yes,
this from each other.
correct, correct,
I'm
correct.
more,
Because I
I'm
will,
towards
yeah,
Yeah.
Cheryl on the scale.
yeah.
I do have somebody like you Dee, in my life who's on the other side, and we learn from
Yeah.
each other. She's always
Yes.
warning
Yes.
me, like, stop trying to save her. There's no point. And I'm like, no, but at
Exactly.
that age, I wanted someone to guide me.
Yes. Yes. That's exactly how it is. I will always tell Cheryl, I'm like, yes, but Cheryl, you have to remember what this person used to do towards us. You
uh,
must remember, It's like, oh, maybe they have changed, they have done better. I'm like, no, 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 Cheryl, you must always remember they will never change their stripes. They will never, So yeah, we have to always advise with each other.
so you see, it's two opposite ends of a spectrum where
Yeah.
one wants to believe in the goodness of people. That's me. I
Yeah.
believe I can guide them
Yes.
enough so that they heal. And the other end, the cynical part. Sorry to call you that, but that's what it
It's
is.
okay. I always call myself as a very skeptical person. I tend to be skeptical
Skeptical,
about
yeah,
everything. Yes. Yes.
right. So then you need to find where
But
is the balance
Mm,
between believing in people and then letting
mm,
them go if they're not
mm,
willing to help themselves.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
but
Cheryl.
that's in a
Good.
way a coping mechanism, right, Paloma?
Coping
Isn't that in a
mechanism.
way our coping mechanism to deal with issues?
Yeah, both are coping mechanisms that we develop in childhood, and both are meant to
Yeah.
protect us. When
Yeah.
you're a people
Yeah.
pleaser, you're doing it because you want validation. You were probably lacking something in childhood that made you want to go above and beyond to please others. And it's the same
Mm.
thing with if you're cynical and skeptical, is like something happened in your childhood that made you believe that it's not worth spending energy
True.
investing
On
in
people.
people when it's only
Yeah.
going to hurt you.
True.
Both are
True.
valid.
Yeah.
Yeah, both are very valid, and both
Mhm.
mechanisms is aiming to protect your inner child. As long as you don't look at the inner child and don't do any healing work, it's going to stay that way. If both are
Interesting.
draining you and not bringing you joy, that's how you know you need to heal it.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. So Cheryl, I need you. Once in a while, I need 20%
We
of
have a
your
interesting.
saviors. Save, savior.
I do believe that friends
So,
come into our
Paloma,
life to guide us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree.
do we need? Should we have a buddy then? Should we
Could we
have a
have a
buddy
buddy?
then?
Should we have a
Like a buddy
buddy?
system?
If that works for you, absolutely. I do have a buddy,
Yeah.
and we talk about our healing all the time, and we compare notes. And our experiences are completely different, but somehow we reach the same realization that our, we need to heal our inner child. That's always the the conclusion of our conversations.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
do find a buddy that creates a safe space for you to express those things, that is a privilege. and treasure it, because you are meant to rise together. That's what I feel.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, true.
Yeah.
We have a question here from Purani that says, does a wounded inner child create a biased gut feeling to protect ourselves? Interesting. So he's
Mm.
asking, like, is there a possibility that the gut feeling that they showcase to you may not be the most accurate one? That's what they're asking.
So there is gut feeling, and then there's your conscious mind trying to protect you
Mm-hmm,
also.
mm-hmm,
Where does it come from? I don't always know.
mm-hmm,
But
Mm-hmm.
protecting ourselves,
Yeah.
we put so many boundaries up just
mm,
so our energy, our vulnerability is protected. And
correct.
sometimes it goes overboard when
Mm-hmm,
when you're on the other end of the spectrum where your boundaries are too high.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And this is coming from a place of fear. If I let someone
mm,
in, I give
mm,
them permission to hurt me.
mm, mm,
So
mm,
then that is a biased gut feeling, if that's what she means. Hi,
mm.
Purani.
So I have a I feel that yes, especially when it comes to coping mechanism, there's various different ways of people how they cope with it. Some cope it in a positive light, some cope it in more aggressive actions, right? Like for example, if somebody tries to correct and say, I think what you are doing is something wrong, and then you start to get very mad and angry and say, no, this is how I do it, and I have always done it this way, and nothing has ever gone
Mm.
wrong and whatnot, is it? So I guess is that's their way of to protect themselves, is it? Or how does it goes with that?
Yeah, because if you question their way of doing things, it's like you're
Mm,
questioning their whole being. So
yeah,
then there's a defensiveness.
correct, correct.
That is a wounded inner child.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Looks like we know a lot of wounded inner childs in our life.
Yeah, I see it in everybody now.
Yeah,
And it's not
yeah,
that all of us are so wounded. Oh my God. It's just that there's levels. There's the
yes,
degree to which you're wounded and the degree to which you're willing to heal.
yeah, yeah, yeah. How much they're willing to realize it and start making the
And
change
how does
themselves.
all this connect? Yeah. Yeah. How does
Yeah,
this
Cheryl.
I
connect with
didn't hear.
emotional neglect? Right?
Mm,
Is this something? How does this connect to emotional neglect? How does it work?
So
Where does it come
emotional
from?
neglect is what leads you to being a people pleaser.
mm,
Absolutely, that's what happened to me.
mm,
That's what leads you into going to relationships that are not good for you.
mm,
It leads you to hold on to people who bring you down just because you you have such low self-esteem that you think if you let that person go, I won't have any other friends.
mm. Yeah,
So
yeah.
all of that originates in childhood where
Mm.
you are taught toxic beliefs.
Such as
For
what?
example, let me think of an example. When you are not allowed to express
Mm, mm,
um, any kind of emotion that makes the adults uncomfortable.
mm, mm,
When you ask for things and you are shut down because
mm.
the adults in your life think you're attacking them.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Just a
yeah.
simple example.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
I asked for a book and I was
yes.
told, you think we have so much money? Why are you asking for
Ah,
things that you can't have? So that over time, if you keep being told like you're not supposed to ask for anything,
yeah,
that's what the child hears. That's not what is being said, but that's what the child hears. So you grow up being somebody who doesn't stand up for herself, who
yeah,
doesn't demand better treatment. When
yeah.
people mistreat you and disrespect you, you
Mm,
don't say anything. You just keep your head down and take it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
I
where
think
emotional neglect
neglect
comes
comes.
into play.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I don't know, but I feel as well. I don't know whether is this a cultural thing, or is this a family upbringing thing? Because I feel the same as well. Because when we were child, a lot of times we are told to just follow and
Yeah.
listen and abide to it, right? Like many times, oh, this is adult group, adult conversation. You're not supposed to fit in, or you're not supposed to speak up when an adult says something, the kind of thing. I think uh,
Kind of
even
thing.
I have that. Yeah,
Yeah.
even I have the kind of things like, hey, you're still a kid, these are not the things that you're supposed to say, or this is not the place for you to say something like that. So I
Yeah.
feel, yeah,
So
yeah,
when you are told these things, what the inner
yeah.
child hears is, your opinions don't matter.
Matter, correct.
You are not valid. Whatever
Yeah.
you feel is not valid, and that leads you to become an adult who has an imposter syndrome. It's somehow related
Mm-hmm.
because you
Mm-hmm.
think anything you have to say,
Mm-hmm.
nobody wants to hear it.
Hear it. Yeah. 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 It's true.
So
It's
when
true.
I started speaking in public about all these
Mm-hmm.
things, about my photography, about my journey, my
Mm-hmm.
imposter syndrome was so loud. I was told the
Mm-hmm.
same thing, that anything you have to say, it doesn't matter. Nobody wants to hear that. But that's
Mm.
not the truth.
Yeah.
The more I heal my inner
Correct.
child, the more I see that I do need to say those things,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
It's true. It's true. Yeah. Yeah.
What are you thinking, Cheryl? You're so deep in thought.
And this goes back. No, I'm just going back to, because we talk about childhood, right? And I'm going back to a point that I feel like, okay, could it be coming from maybe not something someone said to you, like maybe not your parents, but your surroundings, your environment. Like growing up, people make comments like, oh, you're so dark, or why are you so
Oh,
short, or why do you look like this. I remember growing up, everyone said this to me, right? My mom is
yes.
like a beauty queen now. I have to be very honest. She's very, very beautiful. All right. And slim and tall and stuff like that. So I remember growing up when we used to go out, and we'll go to the hair salon, and I've got like this funky curly hair that makes me look African, and my mom has this straight wavy hair. I don't look anything like
Yeah.
her at all. So the saloon ladies used to say to me, this is your say to my mom, this is your daughter, this one, don't look like you, why so black,
Oh
why
gosh.
so black? So like I grew up thinking I was black, and then I married a black. So I mean, that's a different story, but that's
Are you
one.
trying to
And
relate
I
it?
grew up
Are you trying to connect the dots or what? It doesn't seem to relate.
So
I
the
grew up
very
thinking
fact
that
that
I
they
was
call you black
ugly.
and they mean it as an insult, that says a lot about the person saying it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Black is not an insult. Brown is not an insult.
Yeah, but I don't
Yeah.
think I don't. Yeah, I don't really think it's an insult per se. They would. I think
Yeah.
it's a language issue.
Mm.
Language, the language issue where when they said it became in
The
Malay,
choice
they
of
said like
words, basically.
you're so hitam. It's like you're so black.
Mm.
Yeah, choice of words.
And
And I think they didn't know how to express themselves by saying, why are you darker and why is your mom fairer? But it came out
yeah.
as like,
Mm.
why are you so black and why is your mom so, fair? I mean, they didn't know how to say it, right? They used the word putih and hitam, for example. And
Yeah.
because my mom is like so beautiful and all that, immediately in my head I'm like, okay, I'm not beautiful, and then growing up, my coping mechanism is, okay, I'm not beautiful, I'm tough. So I was like massive
Mm.
tomboy, so I can compete in that level because I'm like strong. I joined taekwondo. That was how I coped with it. And
Mm.
one thing I realized, this impacted relationships. So you talked about
Yes.
my whole savior complex, right? I had this whole like I think it stemmed from the I'm not enough.
Yeah.
So you end up dealing or working with people or being in relationship with people that don't deserve you, because you feel like, ah, yeah, like you said, you can't get any better than that. So you end up being in relationships with
A lot of
people like
toxic
that. And I
relationships,
only realized
basically.
this a long time later. Yeah, a long
Yeah.
time later. I remember writing this Tumblr. Tumblr was big back then, a Tumblr post.
Yeah.
And I said, I was making a joke out of it, but I was writing about it in my Tumblr post. And that post actually, I mean, I didn't know about journaling back then. It actually woke me up. I was like, what you said about why are you constantly in relationships where it's toxic? I was like, why am I dating all these losers? Why? Every single relationship was like that. I'm like, am I
Mm,
attracting like bad energy? It's like I'm a magnet to
mm,
this. It's like something must be seriously wrong with me. Until
Mm.
I stopped, like you said, reflected inwardly, my life completely changed. I stopped, like really full stop, for like 2 3 years. I just didn't date anyone, and I started looking back at myself, doing things for myself. It was like really life changing, because it's like, as you said, right? You never really think the problem is you never really think the problem is you, but when you look back and you look back and you look back further, then you realize, wow, that I'm not enough has brought about so many issues in your life. You've neglected that emotion, and you never dealt with it ever
mm,
head on.
yeah.
So it just built up into
Mm,
this sort of,
mm,
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if any of you in the audience has experienced something similar or something like that. But
yeah.
it
Nisha just
it
shared that
creates those kind of
she's sharing the
walls that you
same
don't
thing.
even notice. Yeah.
That is a
Is
powerful
she?
story, Cheryl. Thank you for sharing that because people need to hear this.
Yeah.
Colorism in our Asian community is a huge
Mm,
problem.
yes, yes.
And when it comes to hair, there is the idea that silky straight hair is the good hair and textured hair is not desirable, right?
No,
We are
I'm
the
the
curly hair
opposite.
tribe, me and Cheryl.
I'm the opposite. I was like saying, "Oh my god, why is my hair
We
so
are
flat?
blessed.
Why is my hair so thin? I need
Wild.
more hair."
I used to look at my Chinese classmates and be like, oh my God, why do I not have this kind of hair? Stick straight with the bangs. That's what I wanted. And it's only very recently that I'm embracing my textured hair. Anyway,
Yeah.
the salon lady made a small comment that is called a
Yeah.
microaggression. Everybody
Mm,
Google microaggression because we face
mm,
this
mm,
all day, every day, and it adds up.
mm, mm.
And especially when we hear it in childhood, it becomes a limiting belief
Yeah.
later in life. And I'm so happy, Cheryl, that you've overcome it. And
Yeah.
other women need to look to you as an example. And don't,
Yes.
there's this song by India Ari that says, I am not this hair, I'm not this skin, I'm not the color of my eyes. I'm the light that lives within.
Mm, mm,
Yeah.
mm.
And speaking
That's
about hair, my story is
Now we have to
that,
break out in.
yeah, my story surrounding hair is that when I was very young, I was more hair than person. I always had this thick, luscious hair, but I was never allowed to cut it, not even a little trim, because I was told that girls with short hair don't go to heaven. And it's shameful to cut your hair because what will people say? And this phrase, what will
is
people
this like
say,
a
is very
Right.
present in our community.
is this
I'm
like a
very passionate
religious
about this.
kind
I
of
get
thing?
emotional because I have
Wow.
anger regarding that phrase of what will people say.
Mm.
If anybody watching here is a parent, please ban this from your vocabulary. I'm begging you. The best thing you can do for your child is not tell them that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, my question is, Paloma, is that a religious belief or what? That's why they say you're not allowed to cut your hair. Because I do know that there are some religious belief that say that
It's,
bans them from cutting their hair.
is both religious and cultural. So what it
Mm.
did to me as a child is teach me that my
Mm.
body, my hair is
That's not belongs
sinful.
to you. Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. I don't have control over on my own body, and
Mm.
uh, I'm walking sin, basically, and
Mm.
that brings a lot of shame. And we know that
Mm.
shame is the lowest vibration in all the human emotions.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
So let me
Definitely.
just say that shamelessness looked very good on me.
Yeah, it looks really good actually.
So be shameless. Take control over your own body. Look at me and Cheryl.
I'm
I
the
mean, come
opposite.
on.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a envy. Okay, it's an envy. I'm envious of this. Okay, I always feel like why is my hair so thin and so flat? I need to have more thick, luscious hair. And I look at you two, I was like, God, I would never have that. Okay, so the grass is always greener on the other side. Okay, you're envious of us, we're envious of you guys as well. You know.
And
Regarding the
that's a
microaggression,
really good point, right? What Xiao just said, right? Because
Yeah.
it's
say it
like
again. I didn't hear.
we always think
Mm,
that what we don't have is,
mm,
I said, we always think what we have is not good enough, and we're always
yeah.
looking out for something else, right? Like whether it's our hair, because we think, we're not fair enough, we're not dark enough. And then you go to certain
Yeah.
cultures and they're like, oh my God, your skin. And they're like, oh my God, your
Yes.
hair. And
Yeah.
sometimes I think we need that exposure to kind of appreciate who we are, and not having that exposure, maybe growing up in an environment of people telling you that you're not good enough, kind of gets into your head as well. I mean, what are some steps, Paloma, that we can take today, right? We're almost at the end of our session, right? What can we take today to start that process of healing? Say we are willing. Like, I know I want to
Yeah.
heal, I want to become better.
Yeah.
And that's also part of why myself and Yi started this whole Mind, Body, Soul series. To be very honest, we want to heal too. We want to heal too. There's
Yeah.
many things that we need to work on ourselves as well, right? So how
Yes.
can we start today if we want to help that inner child in us? What is something
Mm,
simple and maybe small baby steps, as Yi would say, right? That
yes.
start today doing, that can help us on this journey. Maybe you can share with the audience. I'm sure a lot of them, many people have mentioned that, the session is helping them, right?
I
So
love
how
this
can
session.
we
Correct.
start
Mm,
right now?
Here's a very simple and small exercise I like to do with my participants in my session. It's called I Am Remarkable. And what it
mhm.
does is to remind you that you are unique and you have gifts to offer to the world. Because we all have some talent or some personality trait that other people appreciate, right? So we need to be our
Correct.
own cheerleader. So what you
Yeah.
do is you take your post-it, your little post-it note, and you write hashtag I am remarkable because, and you write down something uh, that you need to keep reminding yourself, because that's what makes you you. That's what makes you remarkable and wonderful to be around. My go-to was I'm remarkable because I'm a survivor, but I don't use that anymore because survivor puts my identity closely related to my trauma, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't want to just survive, I want to thrive.
Right.
So
Correct.
now my phrase is I'm remarkable because I am creative.
Mm,
Creativity is my gift to the world. I create art, I write, I draw, I photograph. So
mm,
find your I am remarkable statement. You write it on a post-it and you put it somewhere you can see every day, whether it's your mirror. For me, it's at my desk where I work. So whenever you feel insecure or that you're not doing well enough, just look at it to remind yourself. What that will do is ignite the confidence from within. You can also
that's good.
write it down in your mirror so that every morning you see it when you look at yourself. And the
Mm,
extra
that's good.
challenge is to post it on social media. That's the real test
Yay.
of confidence. When you
Yes.
value yourself enough to put it out there, and we have the privilege of having social media. So tag me, tag Cheryl and Yi,
Yeah.
and tell the world how wonderful and remarkable you are.
Yes. I think it's good
Yes.
as well to actually broadcast it into your social media platform, because it is also not only just to remind yourself every day, it's a good declaration that you are showcasing to everyone, your circle around you, to say that you are now embracing this in within you. I think that's also a very
Yeah.
good, it's a very good, step forward, this, right?
Yeah. When
Yeah.
I tell people this, they ask me, but it's going to come across as arrogant. And I say, the opposite of arrogant is not humble, it's invisible. People will treat you with respect if you respect yourself. So, how you do that is to be your own cheerleader. That's a form of respect.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's true, because many times people feel that, when somebody showcases their confidence, a lot of times people view it as you are being too cocky, you're being too big-headed about yourself. But I think they need to give a distinction between, what is confidence and what is exactly cockiness, right? So I guess this is actually not really it's more of like a confidence boosting, I would say.
Yeah, being proud of yourself is shameful because pride
Yeah,
is a high vibration emotion.
yeah.
And don't worry about coming across as arrogant because those people who think you're arrogant, they are insecure. They are not your friends anyway. Your friends will
True,
celebrate you.
true, true. Usually your friends will support you in this, basically, right? Yep.
Yes.
That's so good. I think a lot of people today, our listeners, have been learning a lot, and figuring a lot of things today. And please do join Paloma in this challenge, I am remarkable challenge, and do tag us. And if you want to, you can actually follow Paloma in her LinkedIn. We have actually shared it here as well, so that if you want to have any future questions, doubts, or you want to understand further about Paloma, because I think Paloma does a lot, she does a lot of training about journaling, and creativity, arts, and stuff like that. You can always refer to Paloma on this matter as well, to get to know more about her trainings, courses as well. Anything to add, Cheryl?
I
You
hope
can
that everyone
also
has had a
find
good
me on
session, and
Instagram.
we're all excited to see you guys tag us.
Yeah. I'm
Okay,
very active
so
on
you can
Instagram
go to
because that's
Paloma's
where I share
page.
my
Yeah, I have
photography and
left it in the
workshops.
chat.
So you can find me there.
Sorry. So, okay, Paloma has also Instagram account
So I
as well, right? So you can also follow Paloma in her Instagram as well, to to get to know more about her updates. What's her next courses, what's her next training. You can actually follow her there. We will share as well her Instagram account here, so that you guys can go and check it out as well. Yes, Cheryl, you want to have your closure, Cheryl?
Okay, so we've already hit 9 o'clock. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I hope you've had a good session with us, and you got a bit of a deeper insight into us privately as well. It's a very, I think, in a way, it kind of opens up a lot of doors as well. And I hope that us sharing also helped you guys. What Paloma, myself, and Yi shared, and I hope you can use this as a way to kind of jumpstart for yourself as well, right? A lot of times we don't realize that we all kind of shared kindred experiences. We don't hear it enough, so we think we are alone. But I think we all should start healing, and I think this is a good place to start. I hope all of you will join us in the I Am Remarkable challenge. Tag Paloma, myself,
Yes.
and Yi. We've left some of the
We would love to
information
hear.
there,
Yeah.
and tag Lift as you rise. And I Am Remarkable. Yes, we'll be so excited, and I think most importantly, it will help inspire other people to start their own healing process. Sometimes we
Yeah.
don't know we really need it, and who knows, by you doing that, you're going to reach out to other people as well and touch them. So,
Yeah.
uh, thank you very much, and good night, everyone. Paloma, do you have anything else you want to say to the audience?
My last piece of advice is that you are allowed to be a multifaceted human being. You don't have to be either or. You're allowed to be sassy and spiritual. You're allowed to love
Mm.
makeup and fashion and be a feminist. You're allowed to be
Yeah.
wounded and lift others at the same time.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes. Agree. Thank you so much for your time, Paloma, and thank you everyone for tuning in. Hopefully, we'll keep in touch. I think our next session will be quite interesting as well, but I think that will be 2 more weeks from here. I'm not too sure. I think so. Keep track with us in our YouTube channel as well, or and our
Email.
YouTube, yeah,
Yes.
and our LinkedIn as
Email.
well. Thank you so much for your time. Hope to see you. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye.
Instagram link right here. Okay, good night. Bye bye.